Okay, it's April 17th. You're here at the OSPO working group. I am Elizabeth, stepping in for Dawn and Gary today since they were busy today, could not attend. If you need the minutes, I'll just drop those in the chat really quick. Again, we are recording, but we can stop at any time if we want. So just somebody give me a shout and I will stop that recording. No big deal. NBD, as we say. I'll leave some more space here for people. If you haven't added your name and you'd like to, feel free to do so. You do not have to. Obviously, you don't have to turn your camera on. We are super chill here at CHAOSS. But do remember, this is part of the CHAOSS Code of Conduct. So that's really the only thing that you need to remember. These are some great, excellent questions. Thank you, Remy, for the suggestion. I might steal some of these actually and use them in other meetings. So yeah, I think I may be facilitating this meeting in 2 weeks. So there we go. My work is already done. Thank you. Okay, let's go on. First item on the agenda. Oh, look at this. A brand new journal aimed at publishing work and insights from academics and practitioners. Ooh. I guess Matt added this in. Let's take a look. If anybody hasn't seen this, Information Systems Practice Journal. Very cool. That is very interesting. And there is an official call for papers, it looks like. Very cool. I don't know if people have interest in this or if there is some interest in maybe doing something together with somebody in this group wants to do something with somebody else. That's also valid. I think this might be the first time we're looking at this, so obviously don't need to decide on the spot. But if somebody has something off the top of their head that immediately comes to mind and you want to share, definitely let Matt know or check out that call for papers. Who has comments on this? Questions, wants to talk about this a little more? Looks like there's definitely a lot of flexibility in what types of things they're looking for. So yeah, give it a thought. Very cool. All right, no comments, discussion, anything on this that we want to talk about? We're good to go on if we want. Okay, y'all need to calm down. You're just out of control today. Everybody's so quiet. I'm just talking to myself. Which I'm really good at doing that. I'm really good at talking to myself. So that's totally fine. I don't mind. I just don't want to like rush us through stuff if we want to talk, but we're good. That's cool. The next thing, I don't think this group has heard this, so I'm going to share it here. We have opened the CFP for CHAOSScon. If you're going to be at Open Source Summit North America already and you want to attend, you want to stick around an extra day to attend CHAOSScon, we would love that. We would love it even more if you have something that you want to talk about. We have a little form you can fill out. It's just a Google form, not a big deal. Just some basic info and your abstract. There you go. Easy peasy. We would love to hear what you have to share. I'm not sure how many talks we'll have, and it is only a half day, as opposed to the CHAOSScon EU that we host with FOSDEM, which is a full day. This CHAOSScon is only a half day. But we are going to try to have a social event in the evening because it is in the afternoon after lunch. So that is, I guess, maybe the second thing I should have put on here is if you are at a company that sponsors such things and would like to sponsor, we are open to that. So you would just let us know that that's an option. And that is the only sponsorship that we can take since the Linux Foundation provides us with the space for our CHAOSScon. We can't really take sponsors for the event itself, but we can get a sponsor for after the fact for the social event. So just let me know, or Matt, or whoever, Georg, any of us, give us a shout. We'll point you in the right direction. Who has questions on CHAOSScon? It is a $10 fee, and you do have to have a registration to Open Source Summit North America in order to attend, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. So it's okay. Open Source Summit North America, if you've never been, is a fantastic conference. Like it's really well done. All the Linux Foundation events are extremely well done. I know. Oh, UN Open Source Week is right before that, Laura. Yeah, that that was my challenge as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of have that, butting up against each other issue. My brother lives in Denver, or not in Denver. He lives in, what's that called? Woodland Park or something. So I'm also trying to fit in a trip with him as well, like either before or after something. So it's just kind of a little bit crazy, but it's okay. YOLO, right?
A question about the CHAOSScon, because it says that live streaming TBD. Do you know if it's recorded?
Great question. I don't know yet. So if we go through the Linux Foundation, it's not super cheap. It's like $2,200 or something like that. So we do have some audio equipment, that audio visual stuff that we have brought to previous CHAOSScons. So we just need to figure out if this is something that we can just provide ourselves and do ourselves. If so, then yes. If not, then no. How's that for a non-answer for you?
Okay, so
We would,
let's hope for the best.
Yeah, yes, we ideally would really love to do that, because there are a lot of people who can't afford to get to Open Source Summit North America, because that's also not a super cheap conference to get to. So ideally, we would really love to not only live stream but also record both of those things. So TBD, but we will let you know as soon as we kind of sort out our own logistics a little bit.
Perfect, thanks.
My pleasure. I know that's not a very good answer for you, but as soon as we have a better one, we'll share it. Any other questions on CHAOSScon or Open Source Summit? We also will have a CHAOSS booth. I should mention that as well. So if you are going to be there and you would like to have some booth duty, it is actually pretty fun, believe it or not. We are super open to it. It would not be a giant commitment. It would be maybe like a 2-hour block if you want, and you would not have to do it by yourself. Somebody else would be there, probably me, but maybe somebody else. It is actually really fun. People really like CHAOSS, it turns out. And those who don't know about it, it's just really great to, give a 5-minute overview. You don't have to know anything deep dive about CHAOSS. But it's super interesting for me to hear how people describe CHAOSS, because everybody kind of comes to CHAOSS for different reasons and has, a different perspective, obviously. So that I really love to hear how people describe CHAOSS. But yeah, that is a thing that's open to anybody who wants to do that. So if you've never done any booth duty before and you want a little taste of it, that's a great way to do it. We're also super chill. So I know some companies are, they have kind of strict rules about you can't eat at the booth. You can't. I worked for one company where we couldn't sit down. We were not allowed to sit down the entire time. It's like, right? Like we're human beings. I was in my 20s, so I could do that. I could not do that now. I'm too old for that now. So we're not doing that. That will not be a rule at our booth. Definitely, if really, you don't have to stand up at all. It really is how we go. There's chairs for a reason. So yeah, we're very chill. It's not a huge deal. It's really fun. So if you like to do that, just let us know. There's a Slack channel you can join. I'll dump you in there and we'll figure out what works for your schedule, based on how many talks you want to see and where, if you're speaking, when that is, and all that good stuff. So just throwing that out here. I'll put that in here as well as an option for you all. Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion about CHAOSScon. Okay. So great segue into the UN Open Source Week, Laura. Thank you for teeing that up, because that is actually the next item on here. We have several working groups here at CHAOSS who have been talking about this. We have an SDG working group that is, been talking about this a lot. We also have some folks in the university working group have been talking about this. Some folks in the funding working group have been talking about this. So it's a thing, and we're kind of trying to organize everybody who's coming from CHAOSS. I will be there in person. Obviously, some other folks will be as well. So if you are going to be there, drop your name in here. There's also an idea of having like a chaos centric side event, I think, on maybe Friday of that week, which I don't think I will be able to go, simply because of the fact, Laura, exactly what you mentioned. It is, right next to kind of the OSSNA. Um, so I don't know, but if I hear anything about that, I will drop that in here, or drop that in the OSPO Slack as well. I know we have some overlap, so we'll just try to keep communicating with everybody at once, make sure that we're all kind of on the same thing. Maybe we'll, if we have enough people, maybe we'll even open like an ad hoc Slack instance just to coordinate, whatever, each other, if we want. Also valid if you don't want to talk to anyone at CHAOSS. That's totally valid as well. If you want to pretend like you don't know us, hey, that's cool. I will be offended and hurt, but it's all right. Okay. Who has any comments or questions, discussion about this? It looks pretty cool. I haven't been. So for those, I would actually really like to hear if it was anybody in here, were they there last year? Yeah, Remy, how was that for you? I'm just curious.
Like, I'm not just saying it because, I'm saying it, but it's probably one of my favorite open source and OSPO conferences I've ever been to. I actually was really lucky. I got to go to the first one as well 2 years ago.
Oh, it was
So,
2 years.
well, there have been two now. So the first one
Okay,
was very small attendance. It was like 60 or 70 people, I think, and it was held in the United Nations headquarters, but like in a smaller room. And last year it was held in the ECOSOC chamber, which is right next to the Security Council chamber, and is like definitely one of those things you might have seen like in a popular media somewhere. The symposium was fantastic. The attendees were fantastic. Instead of being 60, it was something like 600 people, I think, that they had last year. So people from OSPOs and open source organizations all over the world. Um, they did like a 2 day symposium plus a side event at the headquarters of Microsoft in Times Square, where the Linux
hmm,
Foundation did like a facilitated community day where there were various talks and stuff. Um, this year, I think it's even bigger. They're doing a whole week, and the first 2 days are going to be a hackathon. Then there's going to be a 1 day of symposium, and then there's going to be the digital public infrastructure day, and then the last day will be like a side event day where
gotcha.
multiple people will be doing different things. I'm not sure if the whole schedule and agenda has been solidified yet, but if you go to the interest form, they're still making their way through the invite list, and um, when they send you a confirmation, they send you some slides, and you get a little bit more information about what the agenda is, and some rough timelines and some details and stuff like that. But you'll get full information about it when you get close to the day of, because there's very strict protocols for like going into the United Nations and bringing certain ID and all that kind of stuff. So um, highly recommend. Very, very fun experience. And this year, I think it's going to be even more fun with things like the hackathon. And I think there's going to be 1,000 people that they're trying to bring in this year. So it's going to double in size again. I heard that they've had as many as 1,200 plus people apply. I'm not sure if all of them can attend or not, but um, and it's going to be more interactive this year. So there's going to be the symposium pieces, but there will be breakout sessions that are specifically oriented around um, various topics of open source, not just open source program offices. In previous years, it was OSPOs for good. This year, it's open
Mhm.
source. So I think they're broadening the scope a little bit, but there's still a big focus on public sector, a big focus on open source program offices, and a couple of other topics that I can't think of off the top of my head. But you should go and check out the website.
Yeah, excellent. Um, really great to hear that kind of fantastic testimonial there. I am, quite frankly, super intimidated to go to this event. And I've been in open source a really long time and I've been to a ton of events and I am quite intimidated. So I'm a little anxious about that. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Oh, look at this. Here we go. Remy has dropped in the website here. So here is if you so they are they still taking applications, do you know, Remy? I don't know how you would know, but
Yeah, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago in the OSPO UNSDG working group, I heard it doesn't hurt to fill out the application. I think they're still going through it and reviewing it and sending out invites. So if you are interested, I think the registration link might still be live, even though they said it was closed. So if it's something you're still interested in, I think you can still apply. Yeah.
here we go. Have at it if you have not yet. Oops. Um, yeah, this is super cool.
I think if you click on the like different colors, it'll take you to the different parts of the schedule. So that's the
Yeah,
first day, the hackathon, and then the 18th, if you click on that one, there you go.
OSPO was good, fantastic. I think this is the day that I said I would go. Oops. And then digital public infrastructure. Interesting. And then this is the off the side events. Okay. Great. Excellent. Yeah, this looks so great. I'm really excited about this, but also anxious about this. So yeah. Anybody else have questions? Or if anybody else has been there, if they have some insights to share, great. If not, that's cool too. Okay. Oh, thank you for dropping that in there, whoever is doing that. Anonymous Octopus. We appreciate you. Okay, Laura, is this your what's going on with you attending, or is this a separate agenda item?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just put it in the wrong spot.
Oh, and yeah, no worries. I just didn't want to slide over that if that was something that was something
Move it.
to, yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go on. I'm excited to hear about this. I'm gonna, Remy, should I stop sharing so you all can share? Okay,
Yes, please.
perfect. Excellent. I can absolutely do that. And I'm just gonna hand it over to you. There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So next up, we have spoken in the past here at the OSPO working group. My name is Remy DeCosmaker. I'm the open source program office lead at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services here in the Digital Service. We are a United States federal agency. Maybe you've heard of Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare.gov. Those are all different places that we support, and we serve over 185 million Americans as part of the healthcare system here. Today, we're going to provide some updates on a few projects that we have saved that we have been sharing here previously. We have talked about our repo scaffolder project, which is sort of like the template that we offer for open source repositories when we are trying to give people a good starting point for when they want to share their code. So We have a couple of new tools and a few updates to existing tools. The first one that we want to show off today is our sorting hat script. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Natalia.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalia. I'm a US Digital Core Fellow, and I've been working with Remy in the CMS OSPO, and today I'll be demoing to you guys some updates. We've been working on a tool called Repo Scaffolder, which allows project teams to create templates with our required files and content as part of our repository hygiene standards. So the OSPO, we have a maturity model framework that's kind of designed to help assess open source repositories based on like their level of maturity and development, so that we can assess where they are at in their open source journey. And we have defined 5 tiers over here. And we wanted to provide extra functionality to help project teams determine where their repository falls in their in our maturity model framework. So we have a flowchart over here that helps them do that, but we also created a command line tool to do that. So I'm going to demo it right now. So first we have a little intro of the tool and our maturity model framework, and then we ask a series of questions for them to help identify their maturity model tier. So we have, I believe, 5 questions over here, and based on how you answer it, give me a second. Okay, based on how you answer it, I put in the wrong responses. It will identify the tier that your project falls under, gives a description about it, and points to the docs about that. And then the next step is that now that we identified the tier, you can create the repository of that tier. So I'm going to show that to you guys right now. I'm on my dev branch over here, so I'm going to run our cookie cutter CLI locally. Okay, then we ask a series of questions about the project, about creating the repository. Project org, repository name, my project description. We have the option, the users have the option if they want to add certain files to the repository. So we added support for a codeowners.md. So I'm just going to provide my username. And then we can select the project visibility. If we want to create a repo on github.com, if we want to receive updates using repository topics. If we also add support for adding content to files, I'm going to demo that too. Engineer. Okay, and then finally we have the repository created over here. So I'm just going to show that off. And then here. And then we have all the files that we need in our repository for this tier 2 project. Okay, and I think that's all that I have for the demo. Am I missing anything, Remy?
Maybe show them the community.md file. Just
Yes.
show where it populated.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so over the past month, we've been making significant updates to our maturity model framework, as well as what files are required based on what tier your project lands on. And so we actually added a new file to our framework called community.md. Let me bring that up for you right now. And basically, this is kind of like our people file for our repository, where we include information about the project members and their role, who are the maintainers, approvers, and reviewers of the repository. We also use a GitHub action that calculates the total number of contributors, as well as shows a table of all the contributors to the repository. And finally, we have this alumni section. And then after going through all the people, the community involved with the project, we include guidance on our community guidelines over here. Yeah, so that's our new file that we just added to this maturity model framework. And we're super excited to ship this out to project teams in the agency.
Thank you, Nat.
So
I
Nat,
think
can
that,
you, sorry,
go
like, can
ahead.
you show the other, let's say, templates as well for the other files?
Yes, let me show that off. Okay, give me a second.
Just like quick,
Maybe
glance, like how.
go to
Yes.
like tier 3, maybe.
Okay, give me a second. Tier 3. Okay. So if you go to this link over here, I'm going to send it in chat. Here are all the files that,
Perfect, yeah.
and their templates for our tier 3 project. So this is the README over here.
And I will add that each of the tiers has a README file in it. So if you click on the README in that directory, it'll give you a little more information about what the tier is and how it works and what files are in there and what's mandatory and stuff like that. We added some docs recently. Sorry, Nat, to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, and then so along with the template for these files, we also have some guidance that we had in the form of comments. So we can provide information on how the user can fill out that section. We also include some example issues, workflows, things like that in here as well. Example pull requests.
That looks good, thanks.
Mhm. Okay, cool. That's it on my end.
Thank you, Nat. And to tie this back into the, oh, sorry, I'll finish my sentence. To tie this back into metrics, we are keeping track of what repositories are meeting the standards for each of the tiers and doing an inventory that we'll talk more about in a moment. So that helps us to understand the baseline maturity of our repositories and then give guidance to help move them through their journey. We have a metrics website that tracks that. Yes, Elizabeth.
Super dope. I love this. I love everything about this. Two questions. One is, did you say this is open for anybody to use, or is this specifically geared towards more governmental run projects?
Sure. It is open source, so well, it's public domain. So anybody can use it for whatever they want. It's on the public internet right now, so folks can go there. There are some like government specific stuff in there, like our README template has like a link to our vulnerability disclosure policy and our public domain statement, and there's like specific values that are sort of pre-filled with the information about the agency. But we're hopeful that if anybody wanted to take and templatize this or swap out their vulnerability disclosure links for ours or stuff like that, we're more than happy to, that's why we put it out there. We want it to be a
Yeah.
resource for other open source program offices and projects.
Excellent, excellent. And then the other question is, maybe I missed this. I'm just curious around the licensing. Do you offer any kind of guidance on what license to pick and put in the license.md? I think if that was out there, I missed that, and I'm really sorry for that. But I'm just
No,
curious. I'm
that's
guessing
fine.
that you all have like one license that you are allowed to use. It has to be the same across, I would imagine. But others
So
might guidance on that. Yeah.
no, great question. So, I'm not a lawyer and this does not constitute legal or financial advice. I need to start off with that disclaimer whenever an asks a licensing question. But it is my understanding, and it is our understanding, according to the open source policy here at the agency, and also Title 17, Section 101 of the United States Code states that federal employees who are doing work in their official duties, that falls under public domain unless it is under contract or for some other reason. So we default to public domain, which means we ship the Creative Commons 0 license, so that it is public domain globally and worldwide. So that's the license that we ship in our specific templates. If a contractor wanted to use this, or anybody else wanted to use this, who works with the agency, our open source policy allows for all OSI approved licenses at the moment. And if you're going outside of that bubble, then we have a TRB, a technology review board, that you would have to go through and work through a process to see if you can get approval for that. But we are open to OSI approved licenses outside. We are feds, so we ship copy, Creative Commons 0, but other people can swap in whatever licenses they would like for that.
Excellent. Those were the only questions I had.
Great. And Nat posted some links to the repo scaffolder maturity models and other things there. But if you just go to the main repository, there's README and there's details there for folks who are interested. We have some other stuff to demo, but before I do, I want to open the floor to anybody else because I don't want to monopolize the meeting, and see if anybody else has anything that they want to bring to the agenda before we move on to the next set. Going once, going twice. Okay, great. We have a few more updates for you today. Thank you everyone for being here and providing us with some real life feedback from other open source program office interested people. We next up are going to be talking about some other tools that were recently shipped. And we're going to start, Sachin will be driving and I'll do some of the talking, and then he's going to do a couple of demos of some things that the team has been building. So the first thing you're viewing right now, we may have mentioned in the past that in the United States, Congress passed a new law called the Share IT Act in December of 2024. In line with that, it basically says that all custom developed code by federal agencies or contractors needs to exist within a private or a public repository. It needs to contain certain metadata. There needs to be secured rights for the government to reuse and own that information. And there needs to be an index with all of the source code that is reported to the OPM as well as Congress. And then there's also an exemption process in place that says, if your project is not public, why is it not public? And that also needs to be tracked in the index. You can read more about it at the legislation. This is a static website. This is very much a work in progress. This is, we are still clearing this through our channels and working through. We're still waiting for guidance. The legislation hasn't been enacted yet. So, take all of this with a grain of salt. This is all like very alpha. This is very early. We're making our best guesses here, but we of course will defer to the e-government administrator, our agency CIOs, the HHS CIOs, and anyone else. We're just the hackers. We're here to build stuff. We take our marching orders from the chain and from the policy. So this static website is a collection that we've put together of documentation and tools. So we built out a few different things for this, and Sachin and our team have been hard at work making it easy to generate some of that required metadata. I believe we have shown off the web form here at the OSPO metrics working group in the past. But for those of you who may not have seen it, the code.json file is a lot like public code.yaml, which is the standard that's used internationally by other programs like the open source program offices in France and Germany and the Netherlands. Code.json is just the federal one, and it has all the information that you can see in the form here: your name, your description, long description of things. We added a new button at the top that will automatically generate as many of these fields as we can if you pass it a GitHub repo. So, it'll provide some of the basic information, but some of the things are not easily detectable and they need to still be brought in manually from the users inputting them. But this, once you have this filled out, you can click it to just generate a code.json file and then save it locally on your machine. This is hosted in the browser and it's client side. So very exciting. But the new thing we wanted to show off today is this index generator. So once repositories have their code.json file, then the agencies need to report out what all repositories they have, and then all the agencies report to the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, who creates an overall index of all of the government's open source software. So they're up in the federal system where you can say what your agency is and what GitHub organizations you want to check. You tell it what version of the metadata, and then you can pass it your own GitHub token, and then it will go through each of the repositories within a GitHub org and search for that code.json file. And then once it finds it or doesn't find it, it will take that and create a standards compliant index file. And within the browser, it will also provide some feedback about which repositories contain the file that's required and which ones do not contain the files. And then you can use that later to do some follow-ups. So we just shipped this yesterday. This is brand new. It's hot off the press, but it is public. It's on GitHub. I'm not sure if it's going to be super useful outside of our use case at the moment, but in another working group, the CHAOSS United Nations Sustainable Development Goals working group, we have talked about doing a code inventory of all the UN SDG projects, and the same code.json metadata that can be used to track federal repositories could be used to track UN SDG projects. And then we could, in theory, generate an index of those and then share that with the community or with the Digital Public Goods Alliance, for example. These are all interesting seeds that we might want to plant, say, for a certain tech over UN hackathon that's coming up at the UN Open Source Week in June that all of you might have heard about earlier on in this meeting. So our team is working in the open. We are really thankful to be able to share this with everyone. We know it's a little bit specific to our use case, but we believe that inventories and metadata standards for source code is not just like a US thing. If you haven't heard of the Software Heritage Project, they're doing fantastic work at the UN level with the UNESCO project to create an index of all of the software as a cultural heritage for Earth, which is a very ambitious and very noble project that we take a lot of inspiration from. So we wanted to share our small corner of the federal open source ecosystem, what we're doing to help contribute to efforts like that. And thank you, Susan and Nat, for your demos today, and we'll open the floor for questions. Yes, thank you for sharing the Software Heritage link. All right, doesn't sound like there's any questions, so I will return it over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. That is super interesting work that you all are doing. And yes, A+ to the hackathon. If anybody's going to be there, definitely seems like an interesting thing to do. So let's go back over here to our agenda. I don't think we have anything else really on here. This is a reminder, I guess, from I think Dawn has been working on this. Maybe other people have as well. If you haven't had a chance to look at this, feel free to do so. Dawn is out for a little bit, so you have some more time. You have a little more time. She won't be back. She's in Thailand. She won't be back for a while. So you do have a little bit more time, but would really love your feedback before it gets published when she returns. Secondly, reminder, of course, we have already talked about this, so just reminding you again about that all that whole thing. And the last one is FOSSI does have their CFP open. They, if you haven't heard, and it's open until April 28th. If you haven't been to this conference, this is another great one that's new-ish, maybe 3-4 years old. So highly recommend. I went 1 year and it was fantastic. I think maybe I went the first year. It was really great. So A+, recommend if this is something that is in your capacity to attend and or to submit something, you can do so right here. Okay, what else before we close out? We got 5 minutes. If there's any final things to talk about, if not, you can have your 5 minutes back. Woo, don't spend it all in one place, doing one thing. Excellent. Oh, I see some messages. Yay. Yeah, it is a great one. It is a really good, the demonstrating value, very, very important. Because it's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to do. Speak the language of folks who don't speak our language sometimes. Anyway, okay.
Quick question, actually.
Yeah.
I just joined late. Just a question. I should read them join. I see there's a risk matrix. Is there any like business risk matrix?
It's a good question. Who has the answer? I do not.
If there's none, that's fine. I just want to find out because I see there's a risk matrix section. So
I think that's
In this
part of.
practitioner. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, this is a working doc. So if that's something that would be interesting for you or would be useful for you, you can leave comments on there. And I know that the folks who are building it, like Dawn and others, they very likely have opinions and or can point towards specific matrices like that, or can like add them. I know this was based on some talks that were given at other conferences because they went over so well. Yeah, it's a working doc. If that's something you want to see, leave it in the comments, and somebody who's the actual author, who's not me, by the way, can probably answer your question much better.
okay, thanks.
Great question. Thanks for asking that. It's really important. Okay, any other questions or comments before we close the meeting out officially? Okay. All right. I hope